Hi! I thought it would be fun to show you a different version of this cute little zipper pouch that I made. Now, this one it's my favorite pouch to keep inside my purse because it lays nice and flat. It's not real big, and I keep the smallest things in here that I'm constantly looking for, like my nail file, my, nail oil, nail trimmer, my chapstick. I've got a little thing for like some Tylenol in here, some eyeglass wipes, just the little things that you don't want to constantly be digging around in your handbag for. So I'm going to show you, I was thinking about laying out the squares a little bit different than how I did on this original one here. So I'm going to show you my idea. And you can follow along with this video. If you don't have this pattern already, you can get it on my website. It's down in the description. And that will have all the specifics that you need, like sizes, specific materials that I use, all the details that you're going to need to follow along and make this pouch. To get started, you're going to lay your interfacing face up. So that's the bumpy side is what you want up. The smooth side should be down because we're going to work onto the bumpy side. Now, instead of just laying out random blocks like we did here, I'm going to take 2.5-inch squares. This is like a mini charm pack. I'm using Free Spirit fabric by Tula Pink. So much fun. And I want to lay it in a diamond pattern. So to start, I'm going to line up the points along this top edge. So I haven't decided yet. Let's see. I'm going to kind of do it rainbowy, I think. That's what I've got in my head right now. We'll see if this is even going to work. Ooh, this has the bird in it. Now also keep in mind you're going to have some excess that you're going to be cutting off of this. So you're going to need more squares than what we called for in the original pattern if you decide to lay it out this way. Now this is when you want to take a peek and make sure you're happy with the layout and that everything looks how you want it to, that all the colors are laid out the way you want. Again, you're only really going to see the top rows, so just make sure that looks good, and then the middle part is your back side. I like it. I think it looks really good. So once you're happy with your layout, and I lay it out on an ironing board of some sort, because we're going to press this now. You want to make sure that everything is attached. So press all the way around, making sure your edges and everything have fused to the fusible interfacing on the back side. Pick it up and test it, make sure nothing peels away or drops off. Now we are going to trim off the excess here. So use your straight edge and you're going to follow along with the edges of the interfacing. What we're doing is just simply trimming off the excess of the fabric all the way around. You can save some of these pieces. Some pieces might be bigger than others to use for another project. I'm terrible at throwing away my scraps. I kind of like to hang on to everything just in case. So we're going to just clean this up, and once you're done trimming, then we get to do the fun part and start sewing to see how this is all going to come together. What we're going to do is we're going to just start, and we're going to work this way. So you're going to just fold this over like that. You're folding along that line where the fabric is meeting up, and you're going to stitch. Now you want to be consistent here and use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I have a 1/4 inch presser foot on my sewing machine that I love because then I always use that edge of the foot as my guide to line up my fabric. We're going to sew every row that way. So you're just going to continue to fold and stitch. we're going to snip the intersections where your fabric comes together. Don't snip into your stitching, just snip the intersections so when you fold down your next rows that they lay nice and neat. All right, once you're done snipping, we're gonna fold it the other direction, just like we did on the first side, and we're gonna go all the way across, continuing to fold it over, press down those seams as you go over them this time, and just keep repeating this until you have sewn all of the rows together. How this was all going to come together. I am doing a complete experiment on camera. So I'm going to just press down the seams here. You want them to lay as flat as you can get them. Next, we got to square it up. So you can see on this one, we ended up with some little like indents and like bump outs because of the diamond pattern. So just trim that off and just square it up so your edges are all straight and even all the way around. You're going to need a piece for the lining that should be the same size. You're going to need a piece of fusible fleece that is also the same size. Go ahead and then fuse your fusible fleece to the back side of the panel. So just make sure it's adhered all the way around. You may want to use steam. Just make sure you're using a hot iron, and I like to iron on both sides on the top panel, and then I flip it over and iron on the fusible fleece. Now we're ready to add the lining. So we're going to add the lining here, and I like to use a little bit of adhesive spray to make sure that it sticks and stays in place while we're quilting it. I like to protect my surface, usually with a silicone mat, but I couldn't find one, so this will work in a pinch. You push from the center out. And I just like to do basic straight line. So I'm going to start by following the edges of my seams with the side of my presser foot. Additional quilting on here, you can do as much or as little as you want. I love this diamond pattern and how each individual square is kind of outlined, so I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to move on to the next step. I'm going to continue using this fun rainbow fabric, but I'm going to cut it the other way so we have cute little lines from our stripes. So you can do 2.5 inch wide binding, 2 1/4. I'm going to do 2 1/4 for this particular project. My binding width is always determined by the project that I'm doing. Press your binding fabric in half lengthwise. And you're going to add your binding to each end. I like to stitch along the front because that's the side you're going to see, so I want to make sure it is nice and neat. Now we're going to add our zipper tape. I want a little bit of the yellow to be visible, so I'm going to clip it that way. You could also glue baste this into place if you'd rather do it that way. You're going to put one side of the zipper on each. Now we're going to just stitch in place. All right, it's time to add the zipper pull to the zipper. It might be a little challenging doing it this way, but you can get it. Just keep trying. I promise it'll work. Now we're going to finish it off by adding binding to the inside edges, and then we'll be done. What you're going to do, now for this binding, I pressed it in half lengthwise, but I also pressed down about 1/4 inch at the top. And I'm going to just start, we're going to line that up with that top edge. I'm going to fold it and put it in place the same way. Now when you get down towards the bottom, I'm going to cut off. I don't need that much extra. You just want to trim off the excess. That's not very straight. Let's try that again. And then we're going to just take this out from under the presser foot, and I'm going to fold in that end. So the end of the binding meets the edge of the pouch. That way you're going to cover up all your raw edges and tuck them in neatly. So you won't have any visible raw edges. You don't have to worry about fraying. So here we're just going to fold it up and over. Now I'm going to use some clips to just hold this in place, especially in the middle where that zipper, it adds a little bit of bulk. And so it tends to want to pull backwards a little, and we want to make sure that we stitch this across nice and neat and that we, get it to hold in place here. But this is the final step. We're going to do this on each end. So just stitch down along that top side, just to be sure that you're stitching your binding into place. You don't have to worry too much. This is the inside, so if it's not perfectly straight, don't worry about it. Again, we're not striving for perfection. We want to just make something cute and functional and have fun while doing it. So don't let the stress of that, don't let it stress you out is what I'm trying to say here. So on the other end, we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to trim off the excess, fold in those raw edges, and then fold it over the top and then stitch it down in place. And then you're going to see just how cute this pouch is. Now we're going to turn this right side out. I like to use my fingers to push the corners out. If you have like a turning tool, that might help too. Turn out your four corners and zip it shut. Oh my gosh, I love the diamond pattern. There you go. Cute little simple pouch. These are so great for gifts. They hold just the little things. So nice to have in your handbag, your purse, whatever it is you might be carrying. I hope that you enjoyed making this pouch with me. This was a really fun experiment. I have never done it when I, laid the fabric out in that direction. I usually do the little grid this way. So the pattern for this is in my description if you don't have this pattern already. So you can make your pouch either way. You can make a couple of each. Personally, I love them. I have one I keep in my work bag and one I keep inside my purse. And when I was traveling, I used this all the time because all my little things were in there and I didn't have to dig around when I was on the airplane. I just grabbed this pouch and knew everything that I needed was right inside. Great for craft supplies, all the little things that you carry around. And I just love that it's flat because it doesn't take up a lot of space. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Be sure to tag me in any video or any photos of the items that you make. I'd love to see what you do. And hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so you don't miss out on all the fun that we have coming your way.